At our wedding, my mom insisted my sister sit beside Dad while I was placed at the far end. When I asked why, she just smiled and said, "It's tradition." I nodded and said, "Great, I have my own traditions too." The next morning, she found out what I had changed, and she wasn't happy. I, 23M, am one of 7 siblings. Lydia, 31F, Josh, 28M, Leo, 25M, me, Aaron, 21F, Nadia, 18F, and the youngest, Lexi, 4F. With such a big family, it's easy to get overlooked. Some of us have our roles. Within the family, Lydia is the eldest, Lexi is the baby, and I'm mostly defined by the fact that I have a child, making me the one who gave my parents a grandchild. Then there's Erin, the golden child. She was the last planned child, the one meant to complete our family. Since she was born prematurely, my parents were understandably protective of her, but over time, it became clear that she was favored in ways the rest of us weren't. Recently, Erin moved up her wedding due to a venue cancellation. At first, it seemed fine until we realized it was the same day as Nadia's high school graduation. Erin acknowledged the conflict but brushed it off, saying the invitations were already printed. Our parents, who normally make a big deal about graduations, simply told Nadia they wouldn't attend. At first, I thought it was just bad timing, but then Nadia told me and Leo that she had been there when Erin got the call about the open date. She reminded Erin of her graduation, but Erin just laughed and booked it anyway. This wasn't surprising. Erin had scheduled her engagement party on Nadia's 18th birthday and announced her engagement during Lydia's wedding anniversary. She always makes everything about herself. When I confronted Erin, she dismissed Nadia's graduation as unimportant, saying she just wanted to marry the love of her life. She even claimed our parents had attended plenty of graduations and still had Lexi's to look forward to. But Nadia had waited years for her moment, watching each of us get celebrated, and now it was being taken from her. So, I told my family that Nadia and I wouldn't be attending the wedding, and Leo backed out too. Erin is furious, and when I pointed out that if graduations don't matter, maybe I don't need to watch all my siblings get married either, I only made things worse. Mom has been trying to guilt me into going, insisting a wedding is more important, but to me, this is about more than one event. It's about showing Nadia she isn't second to Erin. Since then, I've been bombarded with messages calling me selfish, an idiot, and an asshole. My family expects me to step up as a good brother, but that's exactly what I'm doing, standing up for Nadia. My son was supposed to be the ring bearer, but I'm considering pulling him out too. Dad offered to take Nadia to dinner after the wedding as a consolation, but it's not the same. For now, she's staying with me to avoid Mom pressuring her into giving in. It's been 2 days since everything happened, and I finally have an update. A lot has unfolded, so I'll keep it brief. First, Nadia wanted to thank everyone for their support on her graduation. It meant a lot after all the opposition she faced from our family. Last Friday, Leo and I met with our parents and Erin to tell them I was pulling my son from the wedding. Our older siblings joined us, and all 4 of us stood up for Nadia. Leo had already spoken to them the night before, making them realize Erin deliberately chose the conflicting date. The conversation turned into a shouting match. Erin accused me of sabotaging her wedding, and our parents tried to convince me to let them take my son. But with my siblings backing me, I stood firm. Lydia, the eldest, took charge, calling out Erin's pattern of selfishness and warning that if this favoritism continued, we'd cut contact, including Lexi, in the future. For the first time, Dad actually lost his temper at Erin instead of us. Mom then asked us to leave. We didn't hear from them until Monday when Erin's fiancé, George, reached out. At our parents' house, he apologized to Nadia. He hadn't known Erin did this on purpose. Dad was the one who told him. That led to an open discussion about how we always felt Erin mattered more. Her artwork was on the fridge, while ours was stuffed in a drawer. As a parent, I can't imagine treating my child that way. Erin, of course, played the victim, but this time, Mom shut her down. George invited us to the reception, admitting he'd cancel the wedding if it weren't so costly. But by Tuesday, Mom was begging us to attend so Erin wouldn't look bad. That was my last straw. I went no contact with her. I asked Dad to bring Nadia's things over since she's now staying with me full-time. Despite everything, Dad stepped up. On Wednesday, he took Nadia out for an early graduation celebration, a father-daughter day she really needed. He apologized and promised to do the same with us, but that day was just about her. She came home happy, telling us in our sibling chat that she truly believes Dad wants to mend things, even if Mom doesn't. Then, early the next morning at 6:30 a.m., Dad showed up at my place with flowers for Nadia and told her how proud he was. Even George called before his wedding to congratulate her, which I really appreciated. Meanwhile, we heard nothing from Mom or Aaron. Instead, our paternal grandmother joined us for Nadia's graduation. Honestly, it was an amazing day. We didn't think about the wedding or Aaron, we just had fun. My son wore Nadia's cap and gown, which was hilariously oversized, and even our grandma tried it on. We took pictures, sent them to Dad, and laughed when he posted them on Facebook, congratulating both Aaron on her wedding and Nadia on her graduation, knowing it would probably annoy Aaron. Later, we went out for dinner, and as siblings, we pooled our money to gift Nadia a week-long trip with her best friend, inspired by a commenter's suggestion. I did text George to congratulate him. Despite everything, I hope he and Aaron are happy. While she loves attention, I don't think she's marrying him just for that. She definitely moved the wedding date maliciously, but the marriage itself seems genuine. For now, I'm staying no contact with Mom unless she changes. Most of my siblings feel the same, and even Dad and Grandma support the decision. Mom has tried reaching out, mainly to berate us for missing the wedding and accuse us of keeping her grandchild from her. Looking ahead, we have a packed summer before Nadia leaves for college. We're also planning Josh's 29th birthday with Dad involved. It may strain his relationship with Mom further, but right now, we finally feel like a priority. Lydia's warning really shook him. Lastly, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Your support meant so much, especially to Nadia. She had doubts, but knowing so many people believed in her made all the difference. I sometimes wish we had stood up sooner, but it took time to find our voices. Someday, I know there will be 2 empty seats at my wedding. But I'll have 5 siblings cheering me on, and that's more than enough. July. Aaron and George's honeymoon sent Mom into a tailspin. She wasn't used to being alone. Aaron was always around, and the rest of us only visited for Nadia and Lexi. But with Aaron away and the rest of us maintaining no contact, she had no visitors and didn't handle it well. The day after Aaron left, Mom bombarded us with calls, starting with Nadia, likely because she's the most soft-spoken and easiest to persuade. When Nadia refused, Mom moved on to the rest of us, pleading for visits and trying to justify her favoritism. She even brought up Aaron's premature birth as if it excused everything. Josh told her to do better with Lexi, and Lydia blocked her. When the calls failed, she showed up at our homes, repeating the same arguments and accusing us of jealousy. She insisted she loved us equally but refused to acknowledge the years of hurt. I didn't engage, only ensuring she didn't confront Nadia, who was inside with my partner and son. When she finished yelling, I calmly asked her to leave, but it still stung. Dismissing our pain as jealousy was gut-wrenching. Mom and Dad had constantly overlooked us, but they never missed a high school graduation until Nadia's. Josh's college graduation was ignored because Aaron broke her leg, and my partner's babysitter event was snubbed so Mom could get her nails done with Aaron instead. Yet, according to her, our jealousy is unnecessary. Sorry. Mom showed up at my door, yelling, but I stayed calm. When I asked her to leave, she switched tactics, calling for my son and demanding to see her grandson. My partner, furious, took over and threatened to call the cops, forcing her to leave. She tried the same with my siblings, but none of us gave in. Then came the Facebook posts' vague rants about ungrateful children. Aaron, still on her honeymoon, called Lydia to scold her, but Lydia, fed up, shut her down. When Mom posted about being kept from her grandchild, my aunt called, yelled at me, and got blocked. Dad kept apologizing, trying to get Mom to back off, but she refused to listen. When Aaron came back, she tried arranging a family discussion. We ignored her, which frustrated her since she's used to being the center of attention. Despite the chaos, July had bright spots. Dad made an effort to reconnect, even apologizing for canceling a fishing trip years ago. We finally went, and what started as a father-son outing turned into a full family trip. It was one of the best days of my life. Naturally, our parents fought after Mom was furious we were rebuilding with Dad but not her. At the end of July, we celebrated Josh's 29th birthday with an escape room, dinner, and a wild party. By August, Mom shifted to the silent treatment. In September, Dad, exhausted from her constant frustration, moved out and stayed with Lydia. Mom accused us of manipulating him, and even Erin told her to reconsider. Whether she's reflecting or just stewing, I don't know. Personally, I doubt Mom will ever truly take responsibility. If she apologizes, it'll be to get Dad back, not because she sees us as equals to Erin. On a brighter note, my wedding is less than a year away. Mom and Erin aren't invited. Jade and I decided to have our dads wear matching ties with the groomsmen, and I'm happy with the change. Nadia is thriving in college, making friends and enjoying life. She FaceTimes me often, and seeing her happy makes it all worth it. Mom ignored Lydia's birthday in October but went all out for Erin's in November, calling her the perfect child. Not surprising, but disappointing. For Thanksgiving, we celebrated with our paternal grandparents instead of our in-laws. Mom didn't reach out, but Lydia posting a family photo without her clearly stung. In December, Mom created a group chat, insisting it was time to move on. It was obvious she just wanted a picture-perfect Christmas. Erin stayed silent. Dad told her he'd see Lexi but wouldn't spend Christmas with her unless she acknowledged the damage she caused. My birthday passed without a word from her, not that I cared. As Christmas approached, Mom grew desperate, bombarding us with messages. I ignored them until I came home to find her waiting at my door. She claimed she'd been there for ages, acting like I had intentionally made her wait. Luckily, Jade was at work, and our son was with her parents. I didn't want to let her in, but I also didn't want to argue in front of the neighbors. She lectured me about Christmas being about family and accused me of keeping my son from her, implying I was using him as a weapon. I told her it was better this way. We all knew if Erin ever had kids, my son would be sidelined, just like the rest of us had been. She dismissed my concerns and repeated her usual, "I love you all equally" line. I told her to leave. I wasn't spending Christmas with her. That's when she snapped. She started yelling, and while I wish I had stayed calm, I didn't. Years of hurt poured out, and I ended up in tears. I'll never understand how she claims to love us equally while telling her crying son to stop being so dramatic. She only left when Jade arrived and saw me like that. Jade may be small, but she's fierce, and she would do anything for me and our son. I swear Mom left that day terrified of her. Then came the social media posts. She played the victim, posting about how children don't appreciate the sacrifices their mothers make, how we didn't value all she had done for us. We ignored it. Instead, we had our own Christmas. Jade, our son, and I spent the morning with my in-laws, watching our son and nieces open their presents, before heading to Lydia's, who hosted this year. Dad took charge in the kitchen, assisted by Josh and Lydia's husband. We didn't see Mom or Erin until January at Lexi's 5th birthday party. We weren't going to punish our little sister for our mother's behavior, so we showed up. Some people had questions, but when it became clear we weren't willing to talk about it, they didn't push. Mom acted like everything was normal, while Erin kept her distance. At the end of the party, as we helped clean up, Mom made a comment about how it was good we were finally putting things behind us. Lydia immediately shot back that the only thing we were putting behind us was her. That set Mom off, but she quickly realized she was outnumbered and retreated inside. Then Erin approached us with her husband. Honestly, I expected her to tell us to go easy on Mom. Instead, she apologized. She said she had spent a lot of time reflecting since everything happened and realized she had treated us terribly all our lives. She admitted that part of it was due to how our parents had raised her. She didn't expect forgiveness, she just wanted to say she was sorry. We left shortly after. January and February passed in silence, with no acknowledgement of Leo and Nadia's birthdays, not that we were surprised. Our birthdays never really mattered to her. In April, I got married without my mom there, and it was one of the best days of my life, second only to my son's birth. Jade and I were surrounded by the people who truly cared about us. My brothers stood by me as my best men, while Nadia and Lydia were bridesmaids. It was better than I ever imagined, and I'm still amazed that I get to call Jade my wife. But, as you might guess, my mother did not take it well. When we sent out invitations, I hoped she wouldn't find out I wanted a peaceful wedding without her interference. That hope didn't last long. Days later, she showed up at my door, demanding to talk. I refused to let her in, keeping her away from my son. She accused me of being cruel, but I made it clear, my wedding was for the people I loved, and she was neither loved nor close to me anymore. She made her choices, and now she had to live with them. I worried she might crash the wedding. She kept showing up until I finally threatened to call the police, something I hesitated to do, despite everything. When that didn't work, she turned to social media and pressured family members, but I shut it down by making it clear that anyone who sided with her would lose their invitation. She ultimately didn't come, though she did try to stop Lexi from being the flower girl. Dad shut that down immediately. Speaking of Dad, he filed for divorce in February and has no regrets. A year ago, he put Erin first, but now he's completely in our corner, countering Mom's online negativity with open support for us. We helped him move in March, and he's a different person now. He secured 50-50 custody of Lexi, hoping Mom will change, but he's made it clear he'll fight for full custody if needed. Life has been moving forward for all of us. Leo got a raise and adopted a dog my son adores. Josh and his partner are thriving, and there may even be wedding bells soon. As for Lexi, at 5 years old, her biggest news is making Dad attend her tea party. She knows things have changed and is understandably confused, but we're making sure she feels supported. Josh has been offering guidance, and Dad is even considering therapy for her. Now, I'm sure you're wondering about Nadia and Erin. Nadia is thriving away from Mom and Erin, free from the pressure that once held her back. She's making friends, excelling in school, and most importantly, she's happy. That's all that matters. Dad has invited her to move in now that he has space for both her and Lexi, but she's still deciding. She knows she's always welcome with me, but I understand her wanting to rebuild her relationship with Dad. I told her she can try living with him, and if it doesn't feel right, she'll always have a place here. Erin, however, is a different story. While we're not completely no contact anymore, we're keeping our distance. She unexpectedly apologized at Lexi's birthday, leaving us unsure if it was genuine or just a way to get us to forgive Mom. Leo reached out, and when Erin asked to meet in person, we agreed on the condition that any manipulation would end the conversation for good. We met in mid-January at her place, where she looked exhausted and unlike herself. She apologized again, admitting to being needlessly cruel, especially to Nadia. She even regretted trying to ruin Nadia's graduation. Erin explained that when we all declined her wedding, it hurt because no one had ever said no to her before. She thought we were close but realized it was one-sided. That wake-up call forced her to reflect. When we pressed her, she admitted she had never questioned her behavior before. Our parents encouraged it, and since we never spoke up, she assumed we were fine with it. She's only now trying to change, largely due to her husband, George. He had repeatedly called out her treatment of us, but she dismissed it, believing this was just how our family worked. Their fights escalated when she scheduled her engagement announcement on Lydia's anniversary, then her party on Nadia's birthday. The final breaking point came after Nadia's graduation. George nearly left her over it. She convinced him to stay, but it forced her to reevaluate everything. At first, Erin sided with Mom, thinking we were just acting out. We'd never behaved this way before, so she didn't understand why we cut her off. She admitted breaking down over it until George explained that we'd likely been carrying this hurt for years. She always knew she was a brat, but it wasn't until George and Dad spelled it out that she realized how bad she'd been. That's why she told Mom to leave us alone so we could finally have peace. But it turned out Dad wasn't the only one dealing with Mom's anger. She constantly harassed Erin, calling non-stop, showing up at her place, and bad-mouthing us. Things worsened after Dad left, leaving Erin as her only emotional crutch. Mom called us awful names, though Erin refused to repeat them, and insisted Erin was all she had now. George confirmed how exhausting it was. He'd come home to find Erin staring at her ringing phone, dreading picking up but knowing that ignoring it too long meant Mom would show up. Erin had always been difficult, cruel, selfish, and manipulative, but seeing her like that was different. In her own way, she was also a victim of Mom's behavior, just in a different way than we were. She admitted she had wanted to reach out earlier but assumed we wouldn't want to hear from her. Seeing us at Lexi's party, she couldn't hold back. She had to apologize. We left that conversation conflicted. Erin had a history of making everything about herself, even overshadowing Nadia's graduation. But now, she seemed exhausted, drained, and genuinely guilty. I didn't want to believe it was just a ploy for forgiveness or to get us to forgive Mom. None of us knew how to move forward, but Jade suggested inviting Erin to the reception, not the ceremony, just after dinner when other guests would be arriving. If she brought Mom, security would handle it, and we'd know where she really stood. Erin came alone. She didn't mention Mom. She arrived with George and immediately teared up while congratulating me. She complimented Jade and hugged my son. At some point, she pulled Nadia aside, and when they returned, both looked emotional. Later, Nadia told me Erin had wanted to apologize personally, unsure if she'd ever get another chance. George thanked me for giving Erin a chance. He insisted she could be warm and kind. I told him I hoped to meet that version of her someday. And I meant it. If Erin truly is the person George believes she can be, I would love nothing more than to get to know that side of my sister. Now, you might be wondering, OP, why haven't you mentioned Lydia while talking about your siblings? That was intentional. See, it's a good thing Dad moved out of her spare room. She's going to need the space in a few months. And she's not the only one. I already knew Lydia was pregnant because she and Jade sat me down to share the news. She was concerned about how her bridesmaid dress would fit and even offered to step down if it became an issue. Of course, we reassured her that was unnecessary and promised to cover any alterations. As the wedding approached, Jade mentioned that she wanted Lydia to make an announcement during the speeches. I assumed Lydia would use the moment to share her pregnancy with the extended family. I was hesitant, but since it was something Jade really wanted, I agreed at least she had permission, unlike a certain someone would have. Reddit, Lydia's speech wasn't just about her pregnancy. She talked about how excited she was to become a mother and how grateful she was to be sharing the journey with Jade. And that's how I found out my wife was pregnant with our second child. I wish I could say I reacted calmly, but I didn't. I broke down crying, completely overwhelmed with joy. My friends will probably tease me about it forever. But in that moment, all the pain and struggles of the past year felt worth it. It was pure happiness, and I know it would have been overshadowed if Erin or our mom had been there. I haven't talked much about how this past year has affected me. Honestly, it's been hell. I've spent so much of it feeling awful, like I wanted to disappear. Mom made sure I believed I was useless, not enough. And I had to keep it together for Nadia's sake because I didn't want her to blame herself any more than she already did. But I'm in therapy now. And I'm not the only one. We're healing. And right now, I'm happy. Happier than I've ever been. I know my siblings would say the same. Mom might tell people our family has fallen apart. But the truth is, it's her family that's broken. The one she built has crumbled. Ours has only grown stronger. We were already close, but now our bond is even deeper. We've reconnected with Dad, and soon, we'll be welcoming 2 new family members. That's what she's missing out on. That's her loss. Maybe I'll update you in the future. I don't know if Mom has found out about Lydia and Jade's pregnancies yet, but the announcement is out there. We've blocked her on social media, so unless someone tells her, she might not know, at least not from Erin. If anything happens, I'll let you know. For now, I'm just grateful. And thank you all for your support. I hope you have an amazing day.